Welcome back. Okay, so here we have our oracle because we're the oracle section of our 1320 time stream episodes today. Gonna do the quick run through. World Bridger, Skywalker, Wizard, Warrior, and Eagle. All in the planetary, and then the final one is self-existing. So here, planetary Skywalker. First thing that comes to me outside of the words, and I like to not always use the words, but I bring them in because there's, it helps us really attune our minds to the basic kind of flow of energy. After we really find that's integrated, it can take on a whole different meaning. Like I've shared too in some other episodes, but this one, what really hits me is like the Skywalker's exploration of space. It's the journeyer tone. And it's very complementary to the World Bridger because the other part of the World Bridger is like bridging worlds straight up, from death to birth or from point A to point B. The World Bridger is also another journey tone. It's like, well, I'm going to go from point A and then go to point B from point A. And so here you're having a journey. Right, so this could be that day, especially with the Skywalk energy, to go to a place, to explore space, to manifest that, to take a worldly journey. That's what really comes up in this area. I perfect in order to explore. That energy of completion, energy of perfection, manifestation really comes forth in order to usher us into space. Kind of feeling. The guiding power of the day, the planetary wizard. This was really interesting. What comes to me here is like a day for finishing your inner work, a day for allowing that which you've been working on, and it has that energy of like your sorcery work. Maybe it's your healing work, maybe it's your yoga practice, whatever. There's so many descriptions on how that wizardly energy of magic may be with you. That energy of timelessness may be with you. I always do what I can to try to kind of put out a number of scenarios, but a lot of the times I feel really inadequate because I can only really pick out of the hat intuitively. And there's so many beings out there that may be watching this, and many of my descriptions may be completely irrelevant to people. And so while I have a very direct definition with the wizard because I do a lot of spiritual work. I do a lot of sorcery type work, a lot of meditation, a lot of earth wizardry. I work with crystals, a lot of this kind of stuff. So for me, the wizard will really speak to that. Right? There's a bunch of internal work that I'm doing now representing letting go of old patterns and old contracts that I, have unconsciously been roped into in my life. And so for me, actually today, a situation came about on the inside where I got to see some things, some snags that were going on. So for me, right, this sign kind of represents, the perfection. It's like this abstractness that this intention held for me, that when this came up in this situation, and I finally got to see these contributing factors, and there's no way I could ever have known until they had come up. And so for me, I'm like, oh wow, like I feel I finally know now what to focus on. So it's like that thing, that inner wizardry finally revealed itself. It began perfecting itself. It showed up in the material plane for me. Right? So I don't give that to give you a representation of my personal self. I give it to you because of how I choose to interpret the energy of the planetary wizard. I'm not actually using the words. To me, it has a very different presence. Very long time ago, I really stopped using the words because my mind, my mentality, my senses truly expanded from these definitions, these kind of 6 words that really hold space for it. And I began to feel directly how I personally was connected to the architecture of this collective consciousness. And that is actually kind of, if there was a goal, even though, there's no really goal, it's just like the choice to participate because we're growing in such a way, and it's not really goal oriented. But I find that being said, and knowing we're not really attached to something, the goal within that is to allow our formative framework to dissolve and connect with a sentient architecture, a sentient consciousness. And so I feel that the wizard energy too, in the guiding power that we're speaking of now, actually really represents this. We're perfecting our wizardry, we're perfecting our Thomases, all this kind of thing. We're allowing that to come to the causal plane. It now exists where our attention and our awareness can like access it. This brings me to the warrior, allowing us to ask the right questions. A warrior can take on so many different forms, from the healthy to the unhealthy. Mind you, all of the signs can do that. But I do find that the warrior itself can have a very interesting rap, because there is a number of people in our culture who tend to really embody or attempt to empower themselves via the warrior energy. And this can turn out in many ways. Right? We've even had to talk a little bit before about the warrior versus the protector, and how the protector will, if moved to, pick up a sword, but then put it down immediately after, because the protector is never looking for a fight. It's just that the protector is equipped. And if the protector could put down the weapons or put down the equipment, the protector would, because the protector simply does not want to be in a place to have to utilize that gear. And I feel this could be a little bit about what the planetary warrior is actually referring to today. As I'm talking about it, I'm sensing the energy of it there. It's like, this is like, the perfection, the production, and kind of the warrior energy. And in this way, maybe it's talking about putting down the sword. That's the hardest and wisest decision any warrior can make, is to put away the sword for good, to stop fighting, to find a different way to transform one's intelligence. And so in that respect too, I find that the balance between the protector energy and the warrior energy is that the protector is like, I'm done my personal battle. I have perfected the intelligence of the warrior within me. Once I used to be a warrior, potentially in this little storyline description, and now I've realized that it is time to put my sword away. There's a different way to see life. There's a different way to evolve and grow. And there's a different way to show up in the world, to present myself, and to receive situations. Now, it's interesting because what is the challenging power of the world bridger? What is the challenging power of death? And that's the warrior. And vice versa. If the warrior were in the central position, its challenge would be death. And so it's like the warrior and death challenge each other. Now I feel there's a very amazing little riddle here. A very classic warrior. Let's take a look at the word war. It is essentially one who facilitates war. And in a more phenomenal aspect, the dynamic of the warrior is essentially one who facilitates and exalts in death, one who exalts in killing, or the facilitation on bringing about this very conflicted nature. And so it feels very, appropriate that death is the challenge of the warrior, and that the challenge of death is also the warrior. And I feel it, based upon our analogy, it's almost like this is the death, the time of the death of the warrior. But in this, it's more like the second death, how we covered earlier, that second death. It's like, you're not fighting death in this aspect. You've perfected what you are. So you choose to go to this death willingly. There is no fear. You know that you're done with a way, done with a life that is represented by a thing. And you're ready to put down this heart. You're ready to put down the body that is sustaining that which you are ready to let go. And you step into the maw of that death. You step gladly and willingly. Put your neck out for the harvester's scythe to claim that which is no longer needed, to claim that which is there to be equalized so you can be perfected. And this feels also very appropriate why it's in the challenging time. You can see how this most likely could be very challenging for almost anyone. The things that I bring to bear here is some, I feel, critical information. We're talking about ending potentially very significant cycles that these energies could represent, or that we could find that are showing up, in these times of the day or in these times of life. Because as we get into a larger scale, and I'll cover videos on this as well as do personal readings for people upon request. And that is, these kind of things also represent kind of your life, right? One part of it's like a 52-year cycle. And so, you could say that each one of these symbols kind of represents 13 years of your life for a total of 52. Are all 13-year cycles. So it's like, as we're, let's see here, 26, from 26 to, 26 to 39, we're in the challenging power of our life. And look at that, I'm 38, so I'm now in the challenging power of my life. Very cool. And so it's like these energies, whoever is a planetary world bridger will be kind of going through this energy in those 13 years. And that, 13 is a wave spell. So this one's a 13-year wave spell. So just a little seed there for you to look clear in the cycles. And so I really like how this moves, because as I'm sharing this with you all, things come in. And I'm still learning so much about this system, and I've been participating in it for way over 20 years. It's always growing with me. I'm growing with it, and it's a beautiful connection. I love it so much. And in this aspect, it's like as this perfecting, this letting go, this warrior, this death energy and the challenging power, articulates itself. What do we have at the bottom? But 4 eagle. And 4 is about definition. And so in a little catchphrase, that's defining the vision. This helps us define and measure and give form to the vision, as well as creation, our creation. Right? The creator, our creation, our own creation, us as a creation. For me, based upon what I experienced today, I look at this and I'm like, oh, okay. So this helps me further define myself as my creation, the being that I am creating myself to be. All right? This next little bit, not to say that this is what I've done, but this is what comes up where it can represent critical choices, hard to ask questions. Different ways of looking at a situation in order to perfect what's present. And so as we go through that, our vision itself, our mind becomes measured, our mind becomes defined. And so that's kind of a hidden process in the day, in this sharing of energy. So that's what comes through with the hidden power of the day. Yeah, that feels like a good oracle session. I really deeply love sharing this with you all. Oh, okay. That's it for the oracle portion of this episode of 1320 Time Stream. And stay tuned. We are coming up next with, yes, you got it, the Mayan Pyramid Meditation.